The Sahara Desert stretches vast and unforgiving, a silent witness to time. On its northern edge lies Algeria, a land with a history as deep and complex as the desert itself. Berber kingdoms, Arab conquests, Ottoman rule, all have left their mark on this North African nation, but it is the 20th century and the dawn of the 21st that have truly reshaped Algeria. From 1924 to 2024, a mere blink in the desert's lifespan, Algeria has undergone a transformation as dramatic as any sandstorm. This is the story of that century, a journey through colonialism and revolution, through triumph and tragedy towards an uncertain future.
their children.
Section 6. The promise of oil, the shadows of discontent. The discovery of vast oil and gas reserves in the Sahara Desert in the 1950s was both a blessing and a curse for Algeria. It provided revenue for development but created over-reliance and corruption. By the 1980s, a global oil glut led to a sharp decline in prices, hurting the economy. Economic hardship exacerbated social and political tensions. Protests erupted in 1988 demanding reforms. The government responded with brutal force, leading to the October riots. Section 7. The Black Decade, when violence overshadowed hope. The hope for a more democratic Algeria, kindled by the 1988 protests, was brutally extinguished in the early 1990s. In 1992, the military intervened, cancelling the elections and seizing power. This triggered a descent into a decade of violence known as the Black Decade. The Islamic Salvation Front, FIS, was outlawed and its members were targeted. Islamist militant groups launched a campaign of terror. Algeria was plunged into a civil war. The violence was indiscriminate and brutal. Assassinations, bombings, and massacres became commonplace. Fear and suspicion permeated every aspect of Algerian life. The country was torn apart, its people traumatized by the violence. Section 8. Picking up the pieces, a new millennium, a fragile peace. By the late 1990s, the violence that had gripped Algeria for a decade began to subside. The government, under the leadership of President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, adopted a two-pronged approach, combining military force with a policy of national reconciliation. Amnesties were offered to some militants who agreed to lay down their arms. The government also invested heavily in rebuilding the country's shattered infrastructure and economy. The scars of the Black Decade ran deep, however. The trauma of that period continued to haunt Algerian society. The fragile peace was maintained through a combination of tight security measures and a reluctance to confront the root causes of the conflict. The government's grip on power remained firm, with little tolerance for dissent. The legacy of the Black Decade cast a long shadow over Algeria's transition into the new millennium, a constant reminder of the fragility of peace and the high cost of unresolved conflict. Section 9. The Arab Spring's ripple, reform, repression, and uncertainty. The Arab Spring uprisings in 2011 had a profound impact on Algeria. Protests in Tunisia, Egypt, and Libya resonated with many Algerians. President Bouteflika introduced limited reforms. Constitutional amendments lifted some restrictions on political parties and the media, but these concessions were insufficient. The government cracked down on perceived threats. Bouteflika's 2019 candidacy sparked mass demonstrations. The Hirak movement demanded a complete political overhaul. Bouteflika resigned, but grievances remained.